Welcome back to Mind Your Own Business. This is Rick Brutti along with Barry Libert from OpenMatters. Barry, what's an example of how a company can use the UR Business Network's model to their advantage?
Sure. And there's a company here in town I love, which is the Joslin Diabetes Institute.
Sure.
It's a well-known global organization. It's the leader in the world. What's interesting about Joslin is as they have to become global, there's 1 billion people in the world that have diabetes or family members afflicted, and 345 million people have the disease. Now you can imagine the importance of the UR Business Network /Joslin, where they might have doctors tell their stories, or researchers tell their stories, or more importantly, patient stories, patients and family members telling their stories. So I see one day your future is the UR Business Network /Joslin, so people can tune in who have that interest in diabetes and diabetic care, learning in conversations with Rick Brutti about what Joslin can do for them.
So by educating people, you're really driving them to your business or whatever you happen to be involved in.
Absolutely. And you're also giving them quality content for the first time, not just advertising content, about what people can do to improve their lives.
No, that sounds great. So Barry, talk about leadership, because this is something that you're an expert at. And tell me what we can use this whole social media for leadership.
Sure. So the old expression, it's better to teach them how to fish than to fish for them.
Yes.
Maybe in your case, in my case, we like the fishermen more than we like fishing for ourselves. But the idea is to enable people.
Let me see. If you teach someone to fish, they can eat for a lifetime.
Correct.
If you give them a fish, they can only eat once.
That's correct. Now, traditional advertising in media was once a show, a broadcast, a transaction, a piece of information, marketing materials. In the social world, you're giving people the information to make better decisions from wherever it comes from, a peer or friend. So what I see you doing is giving people the knowledge they know and need from anywhere in the world, including their own network, like Facebook's a network, YouTube's a network, for them to educate themselves and, more importantly, surround themselves with other people who have interesting content on that topic.
Barry, you've written a lot of books,
Yep.
and one of the ones you did a few years ago was about how President Obama used social media to build on. And that's a real example from the top, is building a grassroots network to accomplish a goal.
Absolutely. Again, go back to think about how big Joslin could be using your studio here versus their building downtown. 1 billion people could be listening into that network because there's 1 billion people who care. That's a pretty big network. And I don't think there's a radio station yet called Diabetes Network yet.
I haven't seen it yet.
Neither have I. You've seen a lot of music networks, but the concept is people might be more interested in figuring out about their health care than they are cared about their music right now.
Especially if you have diabetes.
Especially if you do. And that's just an example, right? There's many examples.
No, there is. Barry, how do we get the leaders of the businesses and to really adopt this? Because there are some laggards and there are some people on the cutting edge. How do we get the people that aren't involved?
Well, the really good news here is that there's some great new research out. And this is not good news on one half, but it's good news on the other side of the story. About 94% of leaders do not yet believe in social media or social media governance. They still think it's about me being the expert, you being the listener, Rick, I getting on air and advertising to you. Now, I think that's interesting, but not very interesting in a world where there's 1.5 billion people using social media and 4.6 billion people using smartphones today. So what's happening is the reason why they did that study at Stanford is to understand the risks that leaders have by not letting others tell their story. And what you see in that study by Stanford is that there is now huge risks for CEOs and boards that do not embrace the fact that Rick has a story, just like Barry has a story. And those stories enable us to reduce the cost of marketing and improve customer satisfaction.
And if you don't keep up with the social media, you're really falling behind on the competitive side of the coin.
Absolutely, because then you don't have friends and fans. It means you have to spend a lot of money in advertising and in brochures trying to find your next customer or your next employee versus other people saying on your behalf, Rick is a great guy. I want to have my own radio network and I want to bring people together around this piece of content. That's what's making Facebook and Twitter so powerful.
And, Barry, you're so powerful. I'd love to have you have your own show on our network.
I look forward to it.
Can we call it Open Talks?
I would love it as long as it deals with everything we're talking about today, which is how to build businesses that are open, how to create open communications and open leadership.
It'll be your show, so you can do whatever you want.
Thank you so much, Rick.
All right, thanks a lot, Barry. Rob, let's take a break, and we'll be right back on Mind Your Own Business on the UR Business Network.